This is going to be Halls of Stone as a Mistweaver monk. You won. For some reason, it played the pet battle victory effect there. That was weird. Right, okay, so Wrath of the Lich King dungeon, there was the map for half a second. For some reason this dungeon, on multiple characters, keeps taking me, like, several attempts to get a good run on it. I don't know why, like, just things keep going wrong here. Groups fall apart, weird stuff happens. Crystal Tear of Grief. I'm just sitting there channeling Soothing Mist, assuming that'll be enough healing so I can read the quest description. Okay, so I see Druid Tank, some kind of warrior, some kind of rogue, and what's the other one? What is that bottom one? Empty resource bar. Flurk, what are you? Oh, it's a Death Knight, just with no runic power and not doing anything. There we go. Flurk woke up. Some kind of tiny, let's see, Volpera were not out at the time that this was recorded, so those must both be goblins. 2 goblins. You don't see a whole lot. Well, I haven't been seeing a whole lot of goblins. They're one of the rarer races to see around. But there are 2 in the party here. Hyjal, Azerolan. Okay, so 2 pairs of people who might have come in together, or maybe not. Sometimes you get randomed into people from the same server as you. Not very often, though. It's quite rare. There are a lot of servers in the cluster that that does dungeons with the one that I'm on. Anyway, yeah, so this place has kind of a bunch of talking in it. There's 1 or 2 events where you just kind of have to sit and wait for it to get done. I don't know if that contributes to people not wanting to run the dungeon and, you know, somehow makes groups a little less stable when they get into it. I don't know. I can make up reasons for things, but it's really hard to know why things happen as they do. I think this run went fine, though. Didn't keep extensive notes back when I was recording these. I am now, just to organize my footage for this game, because I kind of have like a huge pile of it now. It's getting a little bit unwieldy, but with proper note-taking and record-keeping, I can keep track of what I'm doing and decide which runs are worth showing, which are not. I'm showing pretty much all the runs for this character, at least the good ones in each dungeon. But for subsequent characters, I'm not going to bother with every single one. But I want to get at least 1 good run for probably at least both healer and tank roles for every dungeon in the game, if I can. That's kind of my goal. And then extra ones if interesting things happen, to show off other roles, you know, same roles, other classes. Stuff like that. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin with leveling, like, you know, 12 characters at a time. 1 of every single class. Trying to stick to not too many. I'm expecting my my mage to be the next one I get to 120. I forget where she is at this point in recording, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Coming up quickly. Leveling is fast. So yeah, take a little detour from the, like, carefully constructed part of the dungeon to go into just a rocky cave over here. Do some activities over here. Go around a loop, fight 1 boss. Then we'll meet a very noisy dwarf who says lots and lots of things. What level am I right now? Has anything changed on my action bar? It doesn't look much like it. Familiar stuff. I can't see my level because I'm in combat. $73. Okay. I don't know what I was last time, but it was low 70s, so yeah, not much will have changed. 78 is when the next major change happens, I think. Let's see, what tools am I missing at this point? At some point I changed Tiger's Lust out for Chi Torpedo. I could have done that at any time, it just took me a while to actually do it. Ring of Peace, they're my last one on the action bar. I actually replaced that with a different ability. What do I put in that slot? It's, I forget, but something else goes there. And then I'll actually get a new ability at the maximum level. But yeah, I have most of my healing toolkit now. It's just Mastery is the big missing thing. That comes at 78. It's going to change a lot of things. Okay, this is bothering me. What is in my last slot on my healing bar now? It's something. Let's see, at level 75 I'll get a new talent row. I think I'll probably take Healing Elixir there, so that's going to be a button I can press twice. It has 2 charges to heal like 15% of my health each. So it's just an instant heal that doesn't use mana, that's not connected to anything. Oh no, I'm charmed. Yeah, Dark Rune Controller, they do that. It's annoying. I took some splash damage from the, looks like the Death Knight and the Druid there. Anyway, yeah, so I'll talk about Healing Elixir more once I actually get it. But I think that will come at level 75, so that's soonish. Crystallis. Big giant boss. A little less notable than others of his type that you'll see. There was one in the Nexus who made these huge crystal spikes come out. There's one coming up in, when we get to Cataclysm Dungeons. What's it called? The Stone Core, who's particularly infamous. But this stone giant just kind of pushes you back, but I don't think he does much else. Wait a minute, being turned to stone. Something was going on there. Maybe he has mechanics, but we just don't see them because he dies so fast. Alright, so around the loop, jump down here to get back to the beginning of the cave, and we're back in these kind of ruins. So I think, like, there's some kind of story continuity from Uldaman to here to, there's definitely continuity between Halls of Stone and Halls of Lightning that'll be coming up, and then Halls of Origination in the next expansion. There's Ulduar too, but that's a raid instance. So I won't be doing that as part of this process. Oh man, that rogue took some real damage. How did she do that? How did I take that damage? Hold on, let me pay attention to what's actually going on. Was there like cleave damage happening or something? Oh, those things have some kind of chain lightning, don't they? I don't know, it's hard to remember the mechanics of just like every single enemy in every single dungeon. There are a lot of them. Apparently I have a quest to kill those. Like for the things I don't have memorized, which is, you know, most of this, I just kind of go by a set of reflexes and general principles, you know. Don't usually try to stand in front of the things that are being attacked. If a monster looks a certain way, like say if it's a dragon, it probably has a tail swipe and a breath attack, so don't stand in front of or behind it unless you're the tank. So attack from the side. Bran Bronzebeard, here we go. He's going to talk a lot and do things. He kind of joins our party, but he's not a target I can... I don't know if I can heal him. I think I can actually if I target him, but he doesn't have a party frame over on the left or anything. Things have to be going very wrong for him to die, but I've seen it happen. It can happen. Alright, he has a quest. You have to pick it up quickly, then talk to him and tell him to move on so the dungeon can continue. There's always some... I remember there being some uncertainty about, like, whether everybody's picked up the quest before you actually take the dialogue option to move him on. Because I think you have to pick it up before any individual party member clicks that prompt. So I don't know if everybody got that quest that needed it. Hope they did. Because there's a narrow little window of time to get it. Because everybody who comes to these dungeons in random groups just wants to go fast. You know, somebody is going to click that button very quickly, so be sure you pick up the quest if you need it. So this activity here, this running dungeons like this, every time I go for a drive lately, I notice that there are kind of a lot of similarities to driving through town, just like as an activity, and running a dungeon. I don't know, just interesting parallels. Like, those are the two things that I do regularly that feel like each other. Just something about the way, you know, this puts me in a random group of people who I'm probably only going to be around for a short amount of time. Their actions affect me. We're all kind of occupying the same space. We can talk, though we don't usually. I have little reason to trust them other than that I can assume that they probably have about the same goal as me. And I don't know, I just see a lot of... We can take actions that affect how good a time the rest of us have on doing that activity. I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff about how, like, cars around me, the way they drive, you know, the actions they take to potentially get in each other's way, or... I'm not explaining this very well, but I don't know. Running a dungeon feels like driving a lot of the time. A lot lower risk, obviously, but just a lot of interesting parallels. Right, so Bran talks to the machine for a really long time here. Things start shooting at the party, doing tiny little bits of damage. Nothing to worry about. 19, oh man, my health pool at this point is... I don't know, I'd have to roll over it to see, but probably in the tens of thousands. At least in the thousands. I'm not sure if it's tens of thousands at level 73. Might not be quite. At max level, it's in the hundreds of thousands. Numbers scale weirdly. I was talking about item level before, like, as I was leveling through, like, Legion content, Legion being the second most recent expansion, I'd see item levels for quest reward items and stuff top out at about 130-some. Quest reward items are not the highest item level things you could get, but, you know, if the quest rewards are 130-some, the highest tier raid items are not going to be more than 200, almost certainly. But, like, once you get to the next expansion, it goes all the way up to, like, 480 or something? I don't know. The numbers just have a sharp upward curve to them at the last 10 levels. And not just item levels, but, you know, like, actual stats and stuff. Go from the hundreds to the thousands. It feels weird. But I don't know, it works. The whole thing is just kind of like a treadmill, you know. I end up, as I level up, I kind of get weaker relative to the things around me because they're stronger. And I just have to stay current with gear by upgrading it so that I can have about the same time as I was having before. It's a weird effect. But it is meaningful because, like, so my paladin that I'm playing now, she's primarily protection spec. But I'm trying to keep her holy spec current and also do retribution a little bit. Retribution's getting almost no play, just because I don't really have the room for it. I can mostly only just level one spec at a time with a little bit of room for a second one. Getting 3 in there is just not going to happen as far as I can tell. But yeah, like, she's pretty well prepared to be a tank at this point, but as a healer I'm really struggling a lot. I'm not sure how much of that is unfamiliarity with Holy Paladin mechanics, how much of it is not having her full toolkit at her low level, and how much of it is just that my gear is all optimized for protection. like to build up a set of equipment for a particular role, you generally want to run dungeons as that role, because you set this thing called loot specialization, which determines what kind of items drop for you. Big laser beam, that's serious on heroic, but on normal it's not. One of the runs I did here had people very intentionally moving to exactly where that big orange beam targets, just so they could take the full damage from it, and it was... Well, what I was about to say doesn't match what I saw there. That was dealing some serious damage to that rogue. Okay, so she would have died if she stood in that for the full duration and I did nothing about it. But yeah, it was in one run here where people were intentionally standing in it just for fun, and it wasn't really causing a problem. So yeah, maybe that's just another demonstration of how gear can make all the difference. So yeah, anyway, loot specialization. So when I run a dungeon as a protection paladin, I'm going to get protection gear. It'll have strength, dodge, parry, block, you know, stuff like that on it. I don't think block is a stat you get on anything except a shield, but, you know. But for holy, I want intellect and haste and critical strike. Let's see, mostly intellect, critical strike, versatility maybe. I forget what my stat priorities are, but anyway, so the more dungeons I do as protection, I gain levels with her, and this little gauntlet's almost over, by the way. It's long. So I gain more equipment that has protection stats on it, level her up, therefore making her holy equipment weaker relative to the other things that are around. And then when I go to heal a dungeon, I don't have a current set of gear for that specialization. So anyway, I struggle more with my secondary spec because I just don't play it as much, and yes, Brad, I know you have a lot to say.
But what about the anomalies? Non-stabilizing and whatnot.
You can walk away as soon as that event ends, by the way. Oh, there was a chest there that I didn't open. Right, there is loot from that encounter. You have to go out of your way to get it. Anything good that was in there for me will be mailed to me by the postmaster. So if I forget to loot a boss, all I miss out on is like the any money that might have dropped from there. So yeah, this conversation goes for a while and just kind of echoes throughout the entire dungeon. You can't get away from it. Oh wait, did it end? Oh, you can get away from it. Okay, so now you're seeing the text, but not actually, it's all being done in yells, apparently. Okay, maybe just one voice clip didn't play. It does that sometimes. Anyway, yeah, so hard to level a character playing more than one specialization once, because staying ahead on the gear treadmill for two different types of gear is pretty hard. Some talent trees, or some specializations, have overlapping gear needs. So like Protection and Retribution would get along better with each other than Protection and Holy, for example. You know, say you're a rogue or something, or a mage, you know, with 3 damage specs, you'd probably be fine with the same equipment set for all 3. But yeah, as somebody who does different roles, it's a little harder to make that work. Anyway, I have some footage of Holy Paladin healing, so you'll be able to see how that works at some point here. It's very, very different from Mistweaver, and makes me kind of wish I was playing a Mistweaver so far. As I level up and get more tools, it'll probably start feeling better. Maybe this is why I see almost no one leveling a Holy Paladin and like healing low-level dungeons with it. Like it's almost always a shaman or a druid. I see some Mistweavers, some priests, but yeah, almost always a shaman or a druid is what I'm seeing. Those seem to be the most common healers these days. Almost never paladin. If it's a priest, usually holy, though I've seen some discipline. Maiden of Grief, right, she's here. I don't know what her story is. She's just kind of off to the side here. You kill her, then turn around and go back to where you were. She doesn't really seem like she has anything to do with the rest of the dungeon. Same can be said of Crystallis, I guess. Just like extra bosses for the sake of extra bosses, which is fine. I don't know. That big black thing on the ground, I assume it's a damage field. You see it also in Draktheron Keep, just used by regular enemies toward the beginning of that. Draktheron Keep? I think that's right. Yeah. She does it here too. Yeah, big black field deals me that much damage when I'm in it. It looks weird. It looks kind of like a broken graphical effect. Like it's not supposed to look like that, but that's how it's always looked as far as I know. That's just what it is. Flurk standing right in the middle of it, just bathing in that darkness. Well, to be fair, the bear sure is keeping her right in the middle of it. So if melee wants to hit her, they kind of have to be in it. One of the many tank considerations is to try to position the boss so that damage dealers can stand in a place where they're not constantly taking damage like that. This particular tank was not being too aggressive about repositioning. Another concern is not to reposition too much, because melee people really want to stand still. It's annoying to have to keep readjusting positions because things go just slightly out of range. I have that problem a lot on my Fury Warrior. Like, ranged is just a lot easier to play because little positioning changes don't, you know, make the difference between 0 damage and all the damage, like they do with melee. Yeah, that's just another, you know, other cars on the road thing affecting, like, how your own drive feels. If the car who is in the tank role is swerving all over the place, I don't think I can stretch this metaphor very far, but, you know, it's a very different feel for a hyper tank who moves around all over the place and one who deliberately tries to stand still. I prefer the ones who stand still. Okay, so almost to the end of this. Bran has snuck over to this big door here. Oh, so since he has a silver question mark above his head, I think this is a second chance perhaps to pick up the quest, because I don't think I was fulfilling any quest criteria while I was doing that, though maybe I was and wasn't paying attention. Could be like a multi-step thing you have to pick up, do the... what is it, the Grand Tribunal or something, that long event there. Well, I'll see the name of the quest when I turn it in. I forget what it's about. Halls of Stone. Okay, well, it doesn't tell me the details. I have my objectives collapsed, so can't see from here. Bran's exploration complete. Okay, yeah, so that's probably a second opportunity to pick it up if you missed it. Check in the dungeon guide. Summary didn't have any icons that told me there was anything important for a healer to know, so just wanted to make sure if there was anything I needed to know for this. There are things going on, but, you know, nothing too much to worry about. He summons extra Iron Dwarves from the sides. That's mostly a tank thing to worry about. And he just never stops channeling that lightning effect, huh? Something is stacking up on us. Oh, it's like some kind of lightning weakness or something, I think, maybe? Anyway, having a little trouble keeping people alive here. It's going okay, though. Just party-wide damage, gotta stay on top of it. Helps a coming. I don't know if you stay in this battle for long enough, if Bran actually summons some friendly things to attack Loken. He might. Hey, that was a revival. I used it on purpose this time. Last time I had used it, it was because I was mind-controlled. Yeah, that was a good time for revival. A whole bunch of party-wide damage that probably wasn't going to be sustained forever, but I can take the pressure off just a little bit by instantly healing it all. It's not a super flashy thing, but you know, it makes a distinctive noise and just instantly restores a bunch of health to everybody. Oh, these voice clips.
I'll use the forge to make batches of earthen to stand guard. But our greatest challenge still remains. Find and stop Logan.
Another thing that's just burned into my memory from hearing them so many times when I ran this when Wrath of the Lich King was current. They sound exactly the same as ever. Crystal Tear of Grief. Oh, Maiden of Grief. She had a quest. I see. Okay, so that's why you kill her. To get the quest done. Alright, that was Halls of Stone. Cool place. Little longer than I feel like it needs to be, but a fun dungeon. See you for the next one.